In the 2022 the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I'm so excited.
That's some good eats right there in Duval County.
Waited patiently and it came true.
It was a surreal moment for me.
Well, I can be a great running back to this team.
Okay, it's a wrap.
It is indeed a wrap in the desert in Las Vegas, Nevada. The 2022 NFL Draft from Vegas to Duval inside TIAA Bank Field, celebrating the Jaguars 2022 draft class on the big boards. Welcome into Draft Day in Duval Recap. I'm JP Shadrick with you. The Jaguars entered the 2022 NFL Draft with 12 picks. They made a big trade on day one to get back into the first round. Another 2 trades in the 5th round Saturday. They ended up with 7 players at the end of the weekend to solidify the organization. We'll get to all of these guys coming up. Brian Sexton and John Oehser joining us now. The first draft for Baalke and Peterson together. That was a big, point of emphasis going into the draft. What would this thing look and feel like? They came out with 7 good players, John.
Yeah, and that was completely the emphasis going in, and it remained a theme. Shad Khan talked about it a couple of times, how much he liked the collaboration between the two. Trent and Doug both talked about it. Doug Peterson talked a lot about really a unique level of participation with the coaching staff and how much that meant in terms of they're the ones who have to get their hands on these players. So that's the difference behind the scenes. In front of the scenes, it's striking to me that you went in with 12 picks, came out with 7. That's why you get those 12, is because you eventually want to hone it down and get the guys you want. I felt like they have a shot at having done that, Brian. We'll find out in 3 or 4 years.
You're pretty good at math. Yeah, worked out okay. Yeah. JP, they couldn't have made the pick for Travon Walker if they didn't have the collaboration, right? He climbed the ladder through the process, but there still is a lot of doubt out there about whether or not the Jaguars took the right guy at number 1. There's no doubt over on that side of the hall. They knew it, and Doug Peterson went over the top to make sure everyone understood that they were together on this thing, and that collaboration from 2 men who didn't know each other before they started the interview process in December of last year, it tells you how far they believe they've come as an organization. Shad Khan didn't expand the organization and add somebody above those 2 guys, as had been reported at times, because he said he liked what he saw. They all like what they saw right now.
Let's hear from Shad Khan on the process, getting ready for this draft.
This has been, very intensive process. With really the coaches, with the scouts, viewing film together, a very grueling process, where there is integrity in the evaluation. It isn't, I have a bias and just give me the data to, convince myself or other people. And which, led to really, how the draft board shook out.
That's Jaguars owner Shad Khan, of course, and here again, the draft class after that process. Travon Walker, Devin Lloyd, Luke Fortner, Trad Muma, Snoop Connor, Gregory Jr., and Buster Brown. We'll get to all these players coming up. NFL Network analyst Bucky Brooks has been with us all weekend long and is with Ashlyn Sullivan now.
We are here with Bucky Brooks, who has been on our coverage all week long. You are the draft guru, so you know this better than anyone. How much better did the Jags get this week?
A lot better. A lot better. Really like what has been done. When you look at the picks from top to bottom, they've really done a great job of adding proven players who have superior size, athleticism, and speed, and guys that are going to be able to get the job done. And when you think about the vision of what the offense and defense wants to be and how they want to play, these guys fit. And I think when you start at the top, particularly on defense, Travon Walker coming over, Devin Lloyd, Chad Muma, those guys add versatility, they bring toughness, more importantly, they can bring some production up front.
You mentioned that defense at the top of this draft. Out of the 4 first picks, 3 of them are on defense. And you look at the struggle of offense last year. Were you surprised that they went so heavy on defense? And do you feel like the defense is set now, basically?
Well, now what you want to do is you want to think about putting the offseason together like a complete puzzle. So free agency was all about the offense. We saw a lot of the offensive pieces go. We saw the receivers and the pass catchers and beefing up the offensive line. So now when you go to the draft, you're trying to fill in the pieces. And so defensively, you still needed some things. You needed an edge rusher, so you go and get Trayvon Walker. You wanted to upgrade the talent and the depth of the linebacker core, so Devin Lloyd and Chad Muma come over. And so in thinking about how you want to do the complete offseason, you kind of checked off the boxes along the way. And so I think you should feel good about the team that you currently have getting ready to go into training camp.
I saw you get excited for some of these pips. There was a little fist bump action.
Yeah, a little bit.
Who was your win of the draft?
So my 2 wins would be the linebackers, because Devin Lloyd and Chad Muma, when you watch these guys during the regular season, you started to talk about them during the pre-draft process. These were guys that I believe were top 5 talents. When I looked at how I had it ranked, I had Devin Lloyd 1, I had Chad Muma 5. So to get both of those guys and to get them where the Jaguars were able to land them, it was perfect, because it's not only the value of getting great players at those spots in the draft, but it's acquiring great players. And so now it's about how do you get these guys onto the field, how you put them into the rotation. Do you need to tweak some of your initial plans to play them? But I would expect both guys to play a lot, and make big contributions.
All right, JP Bucky is a little tired of us. He's flying back to LA, and he told us he is ready for a nap. Thanks for hanging with us all week.
It's been fun. It's been fun.
Thank you, Ashwin. Thank you, Bucky. Yeah, Bucky, fantastic throughout the weekend. All right, guys, let's dig into the picks now and start with the number 1 overall selection from the national champion Georgia Bulldogs, Trayvon Walker, the defensive end. He will be listed as an outside linebacker officially for the Jaguars. The most playing time of any Georgia defensive lineman last season on a team that had 15 draft picks, the most in any draft class in the common draft era. Of course, he made the trip to Jacksonville after Thursday night and was here Friday morning, coming from Atlanta, Georgia, to be here. He was with his family during the draft and, of course, made the trip on the private jet, showed up, was greeted by Jaguars owner Shad Khan just outside the stadium here at TIAA Bank Field, made the rounds, took the tour, met the assistant coaches, did the whole deal, and then, of course, he met with the media. Where will he fit in the Jaguars' defense?
Didn't really know until right before the draft, just like everybody else, but I had a pretty good idea. And just to all the people that say that I can't pass rush or do whatever, I wasn't as productive at Georgia. I've never really just played one position consistently. So I feel like I'll be able to grow as a player once I just focus on one main position.
Yeah, that'll help him out. Coming in the NFL, Brian, one position, an outside linebacker, and that's a good start.
An analyst in Vegas said that he's a guy like Micah Parsons, who was sensational last year for the Cowboys, you could do a lot of different things with. It doesn't sound necessarily like they're going to do that right out of the gate. Let him focus on rushing the passer, but he's a guy that's so gifted. I don't know that you can say, well, you're just going to do that, because he's a guy that you can get tricky with. I think he's tremendously talented. In a draft that was filled with doubles, the guy has home run potential.
I'm a little miffed, JP. We've been talking, and all I've heard for 3 days since this pick is how it's a reach, right? And how, well, he didn't do this in college, he didn't do this in college. I don't know if he's ever going to be 15 sack guy, okay? This was a draft that didn't feature a home run at the top, or very many. So I'll throw out something to you. What if he's Clowney out of this draft?
Okay.
And maybe he's that. Maybe
Incredibly
he's never the
disruptive
15,
player.
20 sack guy. Those are pretty rare, by the way.
Yeah.
But if he's that, and you got that out of this draft, a disruptive guy who you put all across, I just don't think he's nearly as much. I keep getting emails about he's a project player. He was just a workout warrior. He only did the combine. That's completely wrong. He was a top 7, 8 pick before the combine, elevated at that point. But it's not like you're taking a flyer, off a kid who wasn't even on anybody's radar. This is a fine pick. If he's Clowney, if he's a Mario Williams type out of this draft, that's, I think he's going to be fine. I'm just a little irritated, JP. I'm a little tired. I'm a little cranky.
Let me give you something
Brian.
else. He was not in Las Vegas. So I asked Jordan Davis, his teammate on that line, and Nakobe Dean, who played behind those two big guys on that national championship defense, who was the best player on the defense? And both of them, unprompted, said Trayvon Walker. They love him.
And Trent Baalke's made a good point about this. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
No,
I'm
go
miffed,
ahead.
Brian. Trent Baalke made a good point about this. Everybody talks about production with sacks. Well, he was not an unproductive player. He just wasn't necessarily a high sack guy. And I get that you want sacks at the top of the draft. He was productive all around. As I've said, Georgia was double teaming him, or Alabama was double teaming him on the biggest play of the season, not letting him get to the quarterback. He is going to be a productive player. I don't think he's a reach at all. And I got some more thoughts.
Oh, well, we were just getting started in the draft. That was the number 1 overall pick. The Jags were not done with just the first pick, though. Well, they traded 3 picks to the Buccaneers to get back into the first round at 27th overall and selected Utah linebacker Devin Lloyd, who showed some enthusiasm on the stage in Las Vegas.
Congratulations.
Wait, hold on, let me get one.
Okay, yeah.
Duval! Yeah!
It might be the best Duval on a draft stage in a long, long time, if ever. And then he picks up the commissioner on top of it. Of course, he arrived in Jacksonville late last night. He made the appearance in the stadium on Saturday, made the rounds, got to meet the Jaguars owner, meet the coaching staff, and do everything that his fellow first-round pick did. There you see Shad Khan. His mother was with him as well, and a great day at the office for Devin Lloyd, who is now a big piece of that linebacker core, and he met the media also. He explained what kind of player he is in that Saturday press conference.
One thing I define myself as is a football player. So it really doesn't matter where you put me. I'm going to go out, I'm going to be competitive, and I'm going to have success. So I pride myself being able to play anything that you could ask a linebacker to play, coming off the edge, rushing the passer, man coverage, zone coverage, playing the run, whatever you could ask a linebacker to do, I pride myself on being able to do that at a high level. And I prepare to be able to have success all over the field. So I'm watching film from pass rushers, I'm watching film for safeties. Like, you got to be able to do it all. So, like I said, I'm excited for whatever I'm asked to do.
Big-time player in the Pac-12, guys. John, this guy can really bring it at linebacker.
Well, I'm not miffed here at all, JP.
I would hope not.
I am a bastion of calmness here. I think he is cut out to be an absolute rock star in this town.
Yeah.
I made this point on Thursday or Friday. What a fun guy. I wish he would have picked up Shad in the same way he picked up Goodell. I think that would have been
that he didn't.
We would have never had another clip. We'd have just played that over and over again. Whereas I believe Trayvon Walker's going to be really good. I'm just not sure how he's going to look his first year, exactly what he's going to do. You know how this kid's going to look, Brian.
He's tremendous.
He's going to chase. He's going to hit. He's going to make plays. This could wind up being the rock star pick out of this draft.
Couple of quick thoughts. So he was coming down the hallway to where I was set up to interview him after he was drafted and doing the Duval. He must have done it 7 or 8 times. So while I'm waiting for him, I was set up next to a Pac-12 network broadcaster who told me a story that after practice on Wednesday, he would go lift, eat dinner, and then go to the film room until about 9 o'clock, where he would, on his way home, call his teammates and tell them what they had to do better on the practice field the next day based on that week's opponent. The guy is an absolute star in terms of the way that he led. And we all know the story about his teammates, gun violence, 2 deaths. He stayed, did you know this, as a senior because he thought that that team needed him. And by the way, all the stud defenders on your Alabama team and that Georgia team, he was the AP College Defensive Player of the Year and led Utah to their first Pac-12 title. I couldn't be more excited about this guy.
Yeah, he checks every box.
Every box.
And you star every box. In terms, there's too much of a cliche here from football people about guys who love football. But in this case, this guy is that. I can't imagine a better fit.
The Pac-12 guy said he's his favorite player in all the years he's covered the Pac-12.
Oh, that's saying something.
I thought so too.
Sure, some really good players coming out of that conference, certainly on defense. We move on to day 2 now. No trades for the Jaguars on Friday, but they continued to add to the offensive line with Kentucky center Luke Fortner with the 65th overall selection. First team all-conference. It was his first year as center. He had played both guard positions earlier in his career in Lexington, but then moved to the snapper spot. And, Doug Peterson earlier this week was asked what position he would play with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
We do like him at center, but he has the position flex to move to guard as well, which, again, the position versatility is really good, for us. you know, and gives us the depth at the position. You know, it gives great competition there. He's a guy that when you watch him on film, he can do everything that we do in our offense in the run game. Whether he's reaching a 3 technique or climbing to the second level, he's got the ability to do that. He can redirect, and just a really good fit for our offensive line in that room.
Recently retired center Brandon Linder was the 93rd overall pick in his draft class. Well, the 65th overall pick, even more premium than that. You would expect, Brian, he would get every opportunity to compete for the starting spot at center.
Without a doubt. I talked to a scouting buddy of mine who said that at Kentucky, and he referenced last year's team in particular when he was playing center, ran a very complicated blocking scheme up front. They were run-oriented, and he was the all-SEC center. They said that the guy is physically and mentally ready to play. And he's a little more mature. He's a 24-year-old with 2 master's degrees. So he's going to come in here serious about the game of football. You know what I mean? The Jaguars took Brad Meester, who played 209 games in the second round. And now, you know, you don't have to have a first-round center to have a long-term player in 5-7 years from now. If this guy's your starting center, you're feeling really good about the 2022 draft.
Now, this was a meat and potatoes pick. Clearly, the Jaguars knew that they wanted to get out of today, meaning Saturday, or out of the last day. But this was a pick at the time they made that you felt like they had to make. They had to go get a center. They had to get deeper and perhaps a starter on that line. They've now got 7 or 8 offensive linemen they feel like they can rely on. They got back to the right fit and mix on the offensive line, and I thought you had to do it at the spot that they did it.
Looking forward to seeing what he can bring to the Jacksonville Jaguars. The next phone call from the draft room went to the Mountain Time Zone.
Hello?
Chad, Doug Peterson, congratulations.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Man, looking forward to getting in here, getting going. Fired up?
I'm looking forward to it. I'm fired up.
I bet you are, man. I'm so happy for you, proud for you.
Chad, how you doing, man?
Good. How you doing?
Excited?
Yeah, I'm so excited.
Yeah, Coach Bull, tell Coach Bull this one's on him. He's the high recommendation.
I will let him know.
All right, buddy. Well, we're looking forward to getting you out here, okay?
I'm looking forward to it.
That is the draft room phone call for linebacker Chad Muma from Wyoming. 6'3", 239, a first-team All-Conference player, third-team All-American, a Butkus Award finalist. And it continues the rebuild of the linebacker room. Foye Oluokun in free agency, John. Of course, the first-round pick, Devin Lloyd, and now Chad Muma comes in.
Yeah, this pick raised some eyebrows, and it caused some angst among some fans and observers. But, you know, this is a spot where if you want to get deeper and faster and more athletic defensively, how do you do it? Well, you take linebackers who can run and play, and you don't necessarily play this game anymore with just 1 or 2 linebackers. I'll defer to Bucky Brooks, who talked about this all weekend. He is a guy who gives them position flexibility, scheme flexibility in the way that Mike Caldwell wants to run the defense. You know, they would have gotten criticized, Brian, if they had gone need by some people. This is not a need pick.
No.
This is, let's go out and get a guy who can play. The team hasn't done that enough over the years. This is a pick I like.
Playmaking linebacker. So now you pair him with the other playmaking linebacker, right? I mean, Devin Lloyd had 8 sacks and 4 interceptions, 2 for touchdowns. This guy had a couple of pick sixes last year. I mean, these are 2 6'3", 240-pound rangy guys who can run and make plays, and you put them on either side of Foye Oluokun in the middle, who's one of the leading tacklers in the league over the last couple of years, and Mike Caldwell, the former linebacker himself, linebackers coach, now defensive coordinator, has remade it in his own image. This guy he's an X factor. Mm-hmm. Teams aren't going to necessarily be able to stop both him and Devin Lloyd. This is a guy who can make plays when Devin Lloyd is seeing them run away from him. And if they decide to run towards Devin Lloyd, this is a guy who can secure the backside.
Yeah, I like the pick a lot. I just do.
Another smart guy, mechanical engineer, can wear the green dot, can do all of the above. You mentioned Mike Caldwell. Well, he's standing by, the Jaguars defensive coordinator, with Ashlyn Sullivan.
Thank you, JP. We are here with defensive coordinator Mike Caldwell, and it is safe to say you have had a very good week. I imagine Jaguars drafting 5 out of 7 defensive players. Take me through this week.
Oh, yeah, definitely a good week. we had a plan and we executed it, so worked well.
Yeah, and the first round especially, Travon Walker, everyone's talking about where does he fit in this defense. He had so much versatility in college. So when you know, hey, they're drafting him #1 overall, what's going through your mind?
Just really excited. Want to get him in here, get him comfortable with the system, and let him go out there and play football.
Yeah, and it's crazy to watch. When you took this job a couple months ago, at times it seems forever ago, this defense was so different. Guys departed, you have free agency, and now you have the draft. It's totally different. Do you look back and say, like, how do I do this defense now?
No, you go at it as a plan and just try to get the players in place. And once you do that, it takes care of itself.
Mm-hmm. And Trent Baalke and Doug Peterson, especially with defensive players, they kept using the word culture setters. When you think of this defense, how would you describe the culture?
It's going to be exciting, hungry, and just guys that love the game. And they just want to go out there and play, and that's what we're about.
Right. And where is this defense right now? Is it set? Is it complete? Can we check it off the list? Or are there still some pieces that you think you could use some depth?
Oh, we're a work in progress. We're just trying to make sure that we get comfortable with each other and then just go out there and whatever we have, we'll make it work.
Love to hear it, Coach. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Back to you, JP.
All right, Ashlyn, Mike Caldwell, defensive coordinator as well. And now it's on to day number 3. The Jaguars entered the day with 6 selections, and after a couple of trades came away with 3 players. They traded 2 6th-round picks, 188 and 198 overall, to the Eagles for the 154th pick and selected Ole Miss running back Snoop Conner. He's a goal line threat for the Rebels, 13 touchdowns last season, and he got Ole Miss, or helped get Ole Miss at least, a Sugar Bowl berth. A few minutes, another trade. They gave up 157 and 235 to the Buccaneers in exchange for a 2023 4th-round pick, and then it was on to the 6th round, where at 197 overall they selected Gregory Jr., a cornerback out of Ouachita Baptist University in Arkansas, an undergrad enrollment of about 1,600, the first player ever drafted from that school. And finally, the 7th round out of the SEC from Arkansas, it's cornerback Montari Buster Brown at 222nd overall. First-team All-Conference performer last year, and he was tied for the league lead, the SEC lead, in interceptions with 5 picks on the year. Well, the Jaguars overall had 2 offensive additions in the draft. They've had a busy free agency on the offensive side of the ball, and there are a lot of eyes on Press Taylor's offense, the Jaguars' offensive coordinator, with Ashlyn Sullivan.
Thank you, JP, here with offensive coordinator Press Taylor. And, Coach, tell me about the 2 additions you got on the offense this week.
Yeah, we're really excited. Obviously, 2 guys that played in the SEC, have played against high-level competition, and guys that played a lot of football. I mean, that's one of the biggest things. They're both very experienced players. They bring a lot. We're excited to add them to our mix and just kind of see how they compete with the rest of the guys we have on the roster.
And when we drafted Luke Fortner, I was cracking up. We were interviewing offensive line coach Phil Rauscher, and he said, yeah, my biggest priority in life is protecting Trevor Lawrence, and Luke's going to help with that. In all seriousness, how much was that a priority, getting guys around Trevor to protect him?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, you're trying to add depth at all the positions across your roster at all times, and we felt like there was an opportunity there with the player of Luke's caliber at a position of need too, just kind of on the interior offensive line, trying to beef up that unit even more, just to add competition to the guys that we already have there that are doing a pretty good job so far.
And it was so active in free agency, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Leading up to this, I know Trent Baalke will say it's all about the board. Did you know, all right, this might be a more defensive-heavy draft?
I mean, it's always a give and take. We always sit and we go in on our side of the ball when we meet with Trent and those guys, but you never really know what's going on with the defensive side. So we talk through our needs and we understand where we're at, but we understand it's Trent's job and Coach Peterson's job to do what's best for the team, and I think they did a good job of that.
Yeah, and it was interesting, Trent Baalke in press conferences, they kept saying, all right, your draft. And he's like, no, it's our draft. Right. It's our team. So you as an offensive coordinator, when you see 5 additions that are defense, what's your mindset?
I mean, it's what it is. Just tell us who we got on our roster and tell us who we play and when we'll play, and we'll go out there and do what we got to do. So, as they give us as much talent as they can on our room, and so it's our job to work with it and coach them up and put them in the right positions.
Love to hear it. Well, Coach, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Back to you, JP.
All right, Ashlyn. Hey, one step at a time, Press. The schedule comes out in a couple of weeks. We'll get to that coming up down the road. All right, final thoughts here. How did the Jaguars do? Brian, what do you think?
Well, I mean, ultimately, it'll be judged on Travon Walker. If he is what they believe him to be, it's a home run. I think it was a really good draft. I don't want to put a grade on it. Really good because Devin Lloyd and Chad Muma give them real playmakers on the defensive side. You picked up a center. You needed that. They addressed need. They got best player available in a couple of situations. You can't help but feel good about what the possibilities are, and that's what this is about.
It had a meat and potatoes feel to me, which I think is a good thing. They got things done I felt like they needed to get done. I don't know how to predict a draft because you just don't know with these guys. I've been doing it long enough to know you don't know. But I do feel like I don't think Travon Walker is going to miss. I think he's going to be a very good player in a lot of ways. It will depend on – he will be judged on how he develops as a pass rusher. But I think even without that, he's going to be a very good player that helps this team and gives them what they need. The thing that pushed the draft over to the point where I really like it, Muma and Lloyd. I think they are players that are going to be dynamic and give it a home run, sexy feel at some point because I think those guys are going to make a lot of plays.
Guys, well done. Thank you very much.
Thank you
for your
Good
coverage in Vegas as well.
It was fun. And by the way, I got to say this. Vegas nailed it. Out of the park. They did an amazing job with the draft.
But did you knock Vegas out of the park? That is a bigger question that maybe we don't even know the answer to yet.
I don't think I'll say anything, but just smile and say I enjoyed the trip.
Well, that'll do it for our coverage. How about that? Full team effort, of course, throughout the weekend. Jaguars Productions crew from the producers on radio and digital, our camera operators, editing, graphics, digital, social, PR team, the football side, Coach Peterson, Trent Baalke, everybody involved. Thanks to everyone for their hard work and contribution throughout the weekend. The Jaguars draft class is in. You see it on the big boards. It's official. 7 players drafted by the Jacksonville Jaguars. Check out our coverage on Jaguars.com and the Jaguars social media channels, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. That's it for the 2022 Jaguars Draft Recap.